The Broken World. Kayla sat near the great crystal towers of Vorthis, her home planet, watching the twin suns slowly sink behind the jagged mountains. The city shimmered with blue and silver lights, its tall buildings stretching toward the sky. Airships floated above, carrying the strong and the powerful, the ones who could walk. She gripped the wheels of her chair tightly. 10 years. 10 long years since the accident had left her unable to move her legs. She was only 6 years old when it happened, but she still remembered the pain, the fear, and worst of all, the silence that followed. Her people, the Vorthians, valued strength above all else. Warriors were honored. The weak, they were ignored, forgotten. A broken body is a broken soul, they said. No one looked at her. No one spoke to her. Even her own family had stopped hoping. Kayla hated it. She wanted to run, to climb, to be free. But no matter how much she dreamed, her legs remained useless. The cold metal chair was the only thing that carried her now. The human arrival. That day, something changed. A strange craft landed in the city square, sleek and metallic, unlike any Vorthian ship. From it stepped a human. A tall, dark-haired man with a determined expression. The crowd gathered, whispering in hushed voices. Humans were rare visitors to Vorthis. The last time one had come, it was to offer peace and technology, but the Vorthians had refused. "We do not need help," their leaders had said. Kayla watched from a distance as the human, Dr. Ethan Carter, stepped forward to greet the Vorthian council. His eyes scanned the crowd, studying the warriors, the leaders, the citizens, until they landed on her. For the first time in years, someone really saw her. The offer. That evening, as the Vorthians discussed trade and politics, Ethan found Kayla sitting alone near the crystal gardens. He crouched beside her, his voice calm. "What's your name?" She hesitated. No one ever asked her that. "Kayla." He smiled. "I saw you today. You don't belong in that chair." Kayla's heart pounded. No one had ever said that before. "I don't have a choice," she muttered, gripping her wheels tightly. "My legs don't work." Ethan leaned closer, his voice steady. "What if I told you I could change that?" She blinked. "That's not possible." "It is." His eyes shone with certainty. "Humans have built exoskeletons, robotic limbs, machines that can help people walk again." Kayla stared at him, her mind racing. She had heard of human technology before, but she had never imagined it could fix her. "Why?" she asked, suspicion creeping into her voice. "Why would you help me?" Ethan exhaled. "Because I know what it's like to be told you're not enough." For the first time in years, hope flickered inside Kayla's chest. But hope was dangerous. Resistance. The next day, Ethan presented his idea to the Vorthian Council. But they were furious. "You want to give her machine legs." One elder scoffed. "She is broken. A machine will not change that." Another warrior crossed his arms. "If she was meant to walk, she would have been born stronger. This is nature's way." Ethan's jaw tightened. Nature can be changed, improved. The council shook their heads. "No, this is not our way." Kayla listened from the shadows, her hands clenched into fists. They didn't even ask what she wanted. They had already decided she was not worth saving. A choice to make. That night, Ethan found her again. "They won't let me help you," he said, frustration in his voice. "But if you want this, really want this, I'll find a way." Kayla looked down at her hands. This was her chance. For 10 years, she had accepted her fate. But deep inside, she had always wanted more. Slowly, she met his gaze. "Do it." Ethan smiled. "Then let's get to work." The beginning of something bigger. As the city slept, Ethan began his secret project. He scanned her body, calculated the right materials, and started designing something never before seen on Vorthis. Robotic legs. Strong. Fast. Powerful. A way for Kayla to walk again. But in the shadows, someone was watching. and they didn't want her to succeed. The impossible offer. Kayla could hardly sleep that night. For the first time in 10 years, she had something new: hope. She lay awake in her small chamber, staring at the metal ceiling, her mind racing. Could it really be true? Could Ethan actually fix her legs? She touched them. Thin, weak, lifeless. They had not moved in a decade, no matter how hard she tried. The healers had given up. Her family had moved on. The council had dismissed her. But a human had looked at her and seen something more. And now, she had a choice. A secret meeting. The next morning, Kayla waited until the city was quiet before slipping away in her chair. The streets were built for the tall and strong, with high steps and uneven platforms. It was a daily struggle just to move through her own home. But today, she didn't care. She found Ethan in a small workshop near the human landing site. His sleeves rolled up, his hands covered in grease and wires. Strange machines surrounded him, unlike anything she had seen before. He looked up and grinned. "You're early." Kayla hesitated. "Are you sure this will work?" Ethan wiped his hands on a cloth. "I've built robotic limbs for humans before. This will be a challenge, but it's possible." He tapped on a small screen, showing a design of mechanical legs, sleek, powerful, built to move faster than any warrior on Vorthis. Kayla stared. "They look strong. They will be." Ethan leaned forward. "But it won't be easy. It'll take time. You'll need training, balance, and control. And you'll have to trust me." Trust. That was the hardest part. Vorthians didn't trust humans. They saw them as outsiders, bringing strange ideas, changing the natural way of things. And she had been raised to believe that she was broken, that her fate was sealed the moment she lost her legs. But Ethan didn't see her as broken. She swallowed hard. "I want to do this." Ethan smiled. "Then let's begin. Building the future." For days, Ethan worked. He took scans of her body, measured every detail, and designed the perfect fit. He explained the science behind it. Neural connections, artificial muscles, power cores that moved like real limbs. Kayla listened, fascinated. For the first time in years, she felt included, not as a weak outcast, but as part of something important. But not everyone was happy. The council's warning. One afternoon, while Ethan was deep in his work, Kayla returned home, only to find 2 council warriors waiting for her. The tallest one, Commander Dareth, narrowed his golden eyes. "You've been spending time with the human." Kayla clenched her fists. "So what?" Dareth's face twisted in disgust. "He fills your mind with false hope. You are wasting your time." "How do you know that?" Kayla snapped. "Have you even seen what he can do?" Dareth leaned closer. "Machines do not change fate, girl. You were born weak, and you will die weak." Something inside Kayla snapped. For years, she had listened to them. For years, she had let them decide her worth. Not anymore. She lifted her chin. "You'll see. Soon, I'll be stronger than any warrior here." Dareth's lip curled. "You should be careful, Kayla. The human won't always be here to protect you." With that, he turned and disappeared into the shadows. A dangerous setback. Back at the workshop, Kayla found Ethan working on the prototype. The legs were almost ready. She hesitated. What if the council stops us? Ethan glanced up, his eyes sharp. "Then we don't stop. We finish this, no matter what." Kayla nodded, but deep down, she felt uneasy. Something was coming. She could feel it. And she was right. That night, as Ethan tested the final connections, an explosion rocked the workshop. Sparks flew. The machine shut down. Smoke filled the air. Kayla coughed, covering her mouth. What happened? Ethan cursed, running to the main power core. It was sabotage. Kayla's heart pounded. Someone didn't want this to happen. Someone wanted her to stay weak. Ethan turned to her, his jaw tight. "We need to move fast. They're trying to stop us." Kayla gritted her teeth. Let them try. She wasn't giving up. The first test. Despite the setback, Ethan didn't stop. He worked through the night, repairing the damage. By sunrise, the robotic legs were ready. Kayla stared at them, her pulse racing. This was it. Ethan knelt beside her. Are you ready? Kayla took a deep breath. Yes. Slowly, Ethan helped her into the legs. The cold metal pressed against her skin. Wires connected. The system powered on. A soft hum filled the room. Kayla felt something, a strange tingling sensation. And then, she moved. Her legs shifted. A small step, then another. She gasped. For the first time in 10 years, Kayla stood. Ethan grinned. Welcome back to your feet. Kayla's hands trembled. She looked down at herself. She had done it. She was standing. But standing was not enough. She wanted more. She wanted to run. And soon, she would. But not before the ones who sabotaged them came back for her. And this time, they wouldn't just stop her. They would destroy her. First steps, first threats. Kayla stood. The robotic legs hummed beneath her, responding to every slight movement of her body. The sensation was alien, unnatural, but incredible. She could feel the weight shift as she adjusted her balance. For the first time in 10 years, she wasn't bound to a chair. Ethan watched her with cautious excitement. Try a step. Kayla's heart pounded. A step. It was such a simple thing for others. For her, it had been impossible for a decade. She hesitated. The fear of falling clung to her like a shadow. The Vorthians always said she was too weak, that she would never stand again, but they were wrong. Slowly, she lifted her foot. The robotic system adjusted, reading her movements. And then, she stepped forward. The workshop erupted with sound as Ethan cheered. That's it. Keep going. Kayla took another step, then another. Her breath came fast, her pulse hammering in her ears. She was walking. She was free. For a moment, she could only feel pure joy. But then, the workshop doors burst open, the enemy revealed. Kayla stumbled slightly, turning toward the noise. 4 Vorthian warriors entered, their golden armor glinting under the overhead lights. At the front stood Commander Dareth. Ethan's face darkened. Didn't expect guests. Dareth's gaze landed on Kayla, his sharp features twisted into disgust. What have you done? Kayla's fists clenched. I walked. Dareth's lips curled into a sneer. You defy nature. You disgrace your own kind. He turned his glare to Ethan. And you have broken our laws. Ethan crossed his arms. Your laws say she should stay broken. I don't follow those. Dareth stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. The council does not approve of this experiment. You will dismantle those machines. Now, Kayla felt a surge of fury. She had spent years in silence, watching as her own people ignored her suffering. Now, when she finally had a chance at life, they wanted to take it away. She took a bold step forward. No. The warriors flinched slightly. They had never heard her speak with such strength. Dareth's eyes flashed. You forget your place. Kayla lifted her chin. No, Commander. I'm finding it. The warning. Dareth's gaze darkened. You think this makes you strong. With terrifying speed, he reached forward and shoved her. Kayla stumbled back, her balance unsteady. Her legs weren't fully adapted yet. She barely managed to catch herself. The warriors laughed. Ethan stepped between them. Touch her again, and I promise you won't like what happens next. Dareth ignored him, his golden eyes locked onto Kayla. You're playing with things you don't understand. Those legs do not make you Vorthian. He leaned closer. And when they fail you, remember this moment. He turned, signaling his warriors. As they left, he gave one final warning. The next time we meet, Kayla, you won't be given a choice. The doors slammed shut. Kayla trembled, but not from fear. From rage. The fight begins. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. They're not going to stop. Kayla's breathing was unsteady. Her hands curled into fists. Then neither will I. She took another step, and then another. She wasn't just going to walk. She was going to train. She was going to fight. She was going to win. Training like a warrior. Over the next few days, Kayla trained harder than ever. Her robotic legs were fast, but she wasn't used to them yet. She stumbled, fell, got up again. Ethan adjusted the system, refining the mechanics. She learned balance. She learned speed. She learned power. Ethan introduced combat simulations. If Dareth and his warriors come for you again, you'll need to be ready. Kayla nodded. She wanted to be ready. She practiced dodging, blocking, striking. The robotic legs gave her an advantage. She was faster than any Vorthian warrior, stronger. She could leap higher, move quicker. For the first time, she felt like she belonged in her own body. The ambush. Then came the night they came for her. Kayla and Ethan had just finished another training session when the workshop's power shut off. Darkness swallowed the room. Ethan tensed. Something's wrong. The door exploded inward. Dareth's warriors stormed in, weapons drawn. Ethan reached for his sidearm, but Kayla moved first. She was ready. The first warrior lunged. Kayla dodged easily, spinning around him. The second attacked. She leaped into the air, landing behind him. The speed was incredible. They had never seen a Vorthian move like this, because no Vorthian ever had. Kayla's stand. Dareth stepped forward, slow and deliberate. You think this makes you one of us? Kayla's breath was steady. No, she planted her feet. It makes me better. Dareth's face twisted in fury. Then prove it. He attacked. Kayla moved faster than she ever had before. The robotic legs carried her like a storm, dodging, countering, striking back. She didn't just fight. She dominated. Dareth, the strongest warrior in the city, struggled against her. The others watched in shock. And then, Kayla struck a final blow. Dareth fell to the ground. The room fell into silence. Kayla stood over him, breathing hard. She had won. For the first time, the warriors saw her not as weak, but as something else entirely. Something stronger. Something they feared. Dareth wiped blood from his lip. He looked up at her and whispered, "This isn't over." Kayla's jaw tightened. No, it's just beginning. The ultimate test. Kayla stood victorious over Commander Dareth, her heart pounding like the roar of a storm. The Vorthian warriors stared in silence, some in shock, some in fear. She had just done the impossible. For 10 years, they called her weak, broken, useless. But now, they saw the truth. Kayla was no longer the girl in the wheelchair. She was something new, something stronger. But Dareth, even on the ground, wasn't finished. His golden eyes burned with rage and humiliation. He wiped the blood from his mouth, his jaw tightening. You think you have won. Kayla didn't flinch. I don't think. I know. Dareth slowly rose, ignoring the pain from their fight. His warriors still stood behind him, awaiting his command. He had never been defeated in combat. Until now. Ethan stepped aside Kayla, one hand on his weapon. I'd suggest you take your loss and leave, Dareth, before things get worse. Dareth's expression darkened. Then, without another word, he turned and strode out of the ruined workshop, his warriors following. But before he left, he gave Kayla one last warning. You have proven nothing. If you wish to be Vorthian, you must take the trial. And when you fail, we will strip those machine legs from your body, piece by piece. Then they were gone. Ethan exhaled. What the hell was that? Kayla clenched her fists. The trial. What is the trial? The trial of the unbroken was an ancient tradition, a test of strength, endurance, and combat. Only the strongest warriors were allowed to take it. Those who passed became elite guardians of Vorthis. Those who failed were cast aside forever. No outsider had ever taken the trial. No cripple had ever been allowed to try. But now, the challenge was hers. If Kayla won, she would be recognized as a warrior, an equal. If she lost, they would rip her apart. Ethan frowned. "You don't have to do this." Kayla turned to him, her jaw set. "Yes, I do. Because this wasn't just about proving herself. This was about showing all of Vorthis that she belonged. Preparing for war. The trial would take place in 3 days. Kayla didn't waste a second. She trained harder than ever, pushing her new legs to their limits. She ran through the canyons outside the city, her speed increasing every hour. She practiced combat against Ethan's holographic dummies, dodging, striking, adapting. She learned to trust her machine body, to make it part of her, not just an attachment. Ethan modified the exoskeleton, making it stronger, faster. He installed shock absorbers to withstand falls, enhanced reflex nodes for quicker response, and even added a hidden power surge for emergency speed. Kayla wasn't just training. She was evolving. The night before the trial. On the final night, Kayla stood alone on the rooftop of the workshop, staring at the twin moons of Vorthis. Ethan approached, standing beside her. Nervous, Kayla exhaled. "No, I'm ready." Ethan chuckled. "Good, because they're going to throw everything they have at you." Kayla smirked. "Let them try." Ethan grew serious. "You don't have to prove anything to them, Kayla." Kayla turned to him. "I'm not doing this for them." She was doing this for herself, for everyone who had ever been told they weren't enough. The trial begins. The great arena of Vorthis was filled with thousands of spectators, their glowing eyes watching as the trial of the Unbroken was about to begin. At the center, Kayla stood alone, facing the 7 warriors who would challenge her. Dareth stood above on the viewing platform, smirking. "Let us see if the machine girl can truly survive." The first round was endurance. Kayla had to outrun the warriors through the jagged path, a brutal terrain of spikes, shifting rocks, and deadly drops. The gong sounded. The warriors sprinted forward. Kayla's legs activated. She moved like lightning, her exoskeleton adjusting instantly to the terrain. Where others stumbled, she leaped. Where they slowed, she accelerated. By the time the warriors reached the finish line, Kayla was already waiting for them. The crowd gasped. Dareth's smirk vanished. The second round was combat. Kayla had to face 3 warriors at once. They circled her, thinking they could overwhelm her. They were wrong. Kayla dodged, countered, and struck faster than they could react. Her legs enhanced her speed, allowing her to land devastating blows before they even saw her move. Within minutes, the warriors were on the ground. Defeated. The final test. Only one challenge remained. A fight to the death. Kayla versus Commander Dareth. The crowd roared as Dareth stepped into the arena, his golden armor glinting. "Now, we finish this." The gong sounded. Dareth charged. Kayla stood her ground. The fight was brutal. Dareth was strong, but Kayla was faster. He struck with brute force, but she weaved around him like wind. For every blow he threw, she landed 2. For every moment he tried to predict her movements, she was already somewhere else. The exoskeleton gave her an advantage, but she was more than just the machine. She was Kayla, and she would not lose. Dareth, frustrated, made a final reckless attack. He lunged, but Kayla ducked under him. She spun, driving a powerful kick into his chest. Crack. Dareth flew backward, crashing onto the ground. The arena fell silent. Kayla stood victorious. The council stared in disbelief. The warriors looked at her not with pity, but respect. And Dareth, he knew. She had won. A new beginning. The trial of the Unbroken had been completed. Kayla had proven herself. She had changed history. Ethan met her outside the arena, grinning. Told you they couldn't stop you. Kayla smiled, looking at her reflection in the metal of her robotic legs. She wasn't weak anymore. She wasn't broken. She was stronger than ever. And this was only the beginning. Betrayal and attack. Kayla had won the trial of the unbroken. She had proven every doubter wrong. For the first time in her life, she was no longer the crippled girl in the wheelchair. She was a warrior. The Vorthians had no choice but to accept her victory. The council grudgingly acknowledged her success. Some warriors, once mocking her, now bowed their heads in respect. But not everyone was willing to let go of the past. And in the shadows, a betrayal was already in motion. A hollow victory. The celebration was grand. Fires burned in the great hall, and warriors shared drinks in Kayla's honor. Ethan stood beside her, arms crossed. You did it. Kayla smirked. Of course I did. Ethan laughed. You're getting cocky. But beneath her pride, Kayla felt something off. The council's faces had been cold even as they announced her victory. The warriors had cheered, but some had whispered behind her back. And Dareth, he had left the arena without a word. Kayla's instincts told her this wasn't over. The poisoned offer. The next day, Kayla was summoned to the council chamber. The room was carved from obsidian stone, torches casting eerie shadows. The council elders sat in a circle, their robes deep purple, their eyes unreadable. At the center stood High Elder Varen. He watched Kayla with a slow, measuring gaze. You have won your place among us. Kayla stood tall. Yes, I have. Varen's lips curled in a smile. And now, you must serve. Kayla frowned. Serve. As a warrior, you belong to the guardians of Vorthis. You will fight where we send you. You will obey. Something about his tone made her uneasy. And if I refuse? Varen's smile didn't fade. Then we will strip your rank. And your unnatural enhancements. Kayla's blood ran cold. They didn't accept her. They feared her. They would use her until they could destroy her. She clenched her fists. No. Gasps echoed in the chamber. No warrior had ever refused the council. Varen's smile finally disappeared. His voice was ice. You dare defy us. Kayla met his gaze without fear. I earned my place. I will not be your pawn. The room fell into silence. And then, the doors burst open. The trap. A squad of warriors stormed in, weapons raised. Kayla spun, instincts kicking in. This was an ambush. She turned to Varen. You planned this. Varen's expression remained unreadable. You were never one of us. Kayla's pulse raced. They were going to take her legs, strip her of everything she had fought for. She would not let them. The first warrior lunged. Kayla dodged, twisting away. The second swung his staff. She caught it midair, using her enhanced strength to snap it in half. They underestimated her. That was their first mistake. Ethan's rescue. As Kayla fought through the warriors, the doors behind them suddenly exploded. A voice shouted, Kayla, move. Ethan. Kayla rolled to the side just as a blaster bolt struck a warrior beside her. Ethan stood in the doorway, weapon in hand, a stolen airship waiting behind him. I told you they'd come for you, he shouted. Kayla grinned. I had it handled. Together, they'd fought their way out. Warriors rushed after them, but Kayla's speed was unmatched. She leaped over walls, dodged energy blasts, and took down 3 warriors in seconds. She was more than a warrior now. She was something they had never seen before, and that terrified them. The Great Escape. Kayla and Ethan reached the airship, engines already humming. As they climbed aboard, more warriors filled the streets, their weapons locked onto them. Varen stepped forward, his voice booming. You will not escape us, Kayla. Kayla stared down at him. I don't need to escape. I've already won. The engines roared, and the airship blasted into the sky. The warriors fired, But Kayla was already gone, a fugitive, a legend. The stars stretched before them as the ship raced into the clouds. Kayla sat back, breathing hard. Ethan smirked. So, what now? Kayla watched the planet shrink below them. She had no home there anymore. But she had something better. Freedom. And she would use it to change everything. The final test. The stars stretched infinitely before Kayla as the stolen airship raced away from Forthus. She sat near the viewport, her robotic legs humming softly, her mind still reeling from the betrayal. She had done everything right. She had earned her place. And yet, the moment she refused to be their weapon, they tried to take everything from her. Ethan glanced at her from the pilot's seat. You all right? Kayla's jaw tightened. They never wanted me to win. Ethan sighed. They fear what they don't understand. She clenched her fists. Then I'll make them understand. Ethan raised an eyebrow. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Kayla turned to him, her golden eyes burning with determination. We take the fight to them. A dangerous gamble. Ethan nearly choked. Wait. What? We just barely got out alive. And now you want to go back? Kayla nodded. I'm done running. Ethan exhaled, rubbing his temples. You really are a Vorthian. Kayla smirked. I thought I wasn't one of them. Ethan shook his head. You're something else entirely. And that was exactly what scared the Vorthians. But Kayla knew something they didn't. She wasn't just faster than them now. She wasn't just stronger. She was smarter. And she had nothing left to lose. The plan. Kayla paced the ship's interior, thinking. The council won't stop hunting me. Ethan leaned against the console. Yeah, that tends to happen when you embarrass an entire warrior empire. Kayla ignored him. They fear change. But there are others, people like me, who have been cast aside. If I can reach them, if I can show them what's possible. Ethan's eyes widened. You want to start a rebellion? Caleb met his gaze. No, a revolution. For too long, Vorthis had followed the old ways, strength above all else. Those born weak were discarded. She wasn't the only one they had abandoned, and she was going to find the others. The first battle. The ship's scanners flashed red. Ethan cursed. We've got incoming. Kayla's eyes narrowed. Let me guess. Vorthian ships. 3 warships were closing in, their engines glowing blue, weapons already locking onto them. Ethan jerked the controls, twisting the ship to avoid a barrage of energy blasts. Kayla grabbed onto the console, her mind racing. They couldn't outrun them. They couldn't outgun them. But maybe they didn't have to. She turned to Ethan. Get me close. Ethan blinked. What? Kayla's robotic legs powered up, service humming. I can board them. Ethan gaped. You want to jump onto a moving warship while we're being shot at? Kayla grinned. You said I was something else, right? Ethan muttered a curse. You're insane. But he didn't argue. Because he knew, if anyone could pull this off, it was Kayla. Leaping into fire. The ship veered sharply, dodging another attack. Ethan brought them dangerously close to the lead warship. The Vorthians on board had no idea what was coming. Kayla sprinted toward the open hatch. Her mechanical legs charged up. And then she leaped. The wind howled around her. The warship loomed ahead, its metal hull glistening under the twin suns. For a split second, she was weightless. Then, impact. Her boots clamped onto the hull, magnetic locks engaging. She skidded, sparks flying. But she held firm. Inside the warship, alarms blared. Kayla grinned. Time to make an entrance. Taking the fight to them. She ripped open an access panel, hot wiring the security system. The door slid open, and Kayla dropped inside. The first 2 warriors barely had time to react before she was on them. She moved like a phantom, her speed inhuman. A fist to the first warrior's gut. He crumpled. A spinning kick to the second. He crashed against the wall. Kayla didn't stop. She sprinted through the corridors, dodging energy blasts, disabling defenses, taking down enemies with brutal efficiency. By the time she reached the command bridge, the crew had already surrendered. The captain, a battle-scarred Vorthian, stared at her in disbelief. "You are not supposed to exist." Kayla smirked. "And yet, here I am." She tapped her comm. "Ethan, I have a ship." Ethan's laughter crackled through the speakers. "Of course you do. The war begins." With the stolen warship under their control, Kayla sent a message across Forthis. A message to everyone like her, the abandoned, the cast aside, the ones the Council had forgotten. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are more than they have ever allowed you to be. And I will prove it. Join me. Within hours, messages poured in. Hundreds of outcasts, exiled warriors, and defectors answered the call. The Vorthians had spent centuries suppressing those they deemed unworthy. Now those very people were rising against them. And at the head of it all stood Kayla, the first of her kind, a warrior of both flesh and machine. And she was done being underestimated. Humanity's legacy. Kayla stood at the helm of the stolen Vorthian warship, her golden eyes scanning the vastness of space. Around her, hundreds of ships, once scattered, lost, forgotten, now moved as one. They had answered her call. The outcasts, the discarded, the ones the Council deemed too weak to matter. They were here, and they were ready to fight. Ethan leaned against the control panel, shaking his head. "You know, when I first met you, I didn't expect you to start a revolution." Kayla smirked. "Neither did I." But she had. Because the Vorthians had left her no choice. Because when you push the forgotten into the shadows for too long, eventually they rise. The Council's response. Back on Vorthis, the Council watched in horror as Kala's fleet gathered. Varen, the High Elder, paced in the Grand Chamber, his hands clenched. "She has turned our own people against us." Dareth stood beside him, his face twisted in fury. "She must be stopped." Varen turned sharply. "Then stop her." Dareth's lips curled into a snarl. "With pleasure." The last battle begins. The Council sent their entire fleet. 50 warships, thousands of elite warriors. Their mission: destroy Kayla, erase her rebellion, crush any thought of change. As the Vorthian fleet emerged from the warp, Kayla's forces stood their ground. Ethan whistled. "That's a lot of ships." Kayla didn't blink. "Then let's give them a reason to be afraid." The war began. Fire in the skies. The first blasts lit up the void, streaks of red and blue cutting across the darkness. Kayla's forces moved faster than the Vorthians expected. Her people weren't trained warriors, but they were desperate, determined, and they had something stronger than tradition. They had purpose. Kayla piloted her warship through the chaos, dodging blasts, returning fire. The exoskeleton in her legs connected to the ship's interface, making her move like an extension of the machine itself. She was no longer just Kayla. She was a force, a storm. The duel. In the heart of the battle, a familiar ship locked onto her. Kayla's jaw tightened. "Dareth." His voice crackled through the comms. "You are an abomination, Kayla, and I will end this now." Kayla smirked. "Try." She pushed her engines to max, charging toward his ship. At the last second, she jumped. The cold of space hit her for only a moment before she landed, on Dareth's hull. Her magnetic boots locked. Her exoskeleton adjusted. Dareth came for her. The ship's doors slid open, and he stepped out in full battle armor, his energy blade humming. No more words. This was the final fight. Kayla drew her own blade, and they clashed. The fall of a tyrant. Dareth was fast, strong, but Kayla was faster. She dodged, weaved, countered. Her robotic legs moved beyond anything organic. She was not just a warrior anymore. She was something new, a fusion of flesh and steel. Dareth snarled, swinging wildly. Kayla sidestepped, then struck. A perfect blow, straight to his chest. Dareth stumbled, his armor cracking. Kayla did not hesitate. With a final powerful kick, she sent him spiraling into space. His scream vanished into the void. And just like that, the greatest warrior of Vorthis was gone. A new beginning. With Dareth defeated, the Vorthian fleet hesitated. Kayla activated the comms, her voice calm. Your leader is gone. Your council is weak. But you still have a choice. Silence. Then, one by one, the Vorthian ships lowered their weapons. The battle was over. The war was won. Kayla had done the impossible. She had changed Vorthis forever. The legacy of humanity. As the dust settled, Kayla returned to the bridge of her warship, Ethan beside her. He studied her for a long moment. You know, humans have a saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Kayla exhaled, staring at the planet below. She had been weak. She had been cast aside. But humanity had given her a second chance. Not because of machines. Not because of power. But because they believed in her. She turned to Ethan, a small smile on her lips. Then I guess I'm human after all. And with that, Kayla stepped into history. The first of her kind. The beginning of something greater. A legend that would never be forgotten. The end.